he mihi tēnei, ki te huna kua tū ki mai, e te rā rangi whakamana. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Greetings and thanks for having me to speak at the conference. You're visiting and sitting in a vibrant and growing part of New Zealand, Wellington region. And we all know that good infrastructure supports any growing city, and that infrastructure needs to support the outcomes for those communities. And our job, on behalf of our region, is to provide three waters infrastructure to meet our customer outcomes. And we call those safe and healthy water, being respectful to the environment, and building resilient infrastructure that will support the local economy. As we think about our customers, I guess we've learned from a number of other water entities that distinguishing the difference between the service you provide and the experience your customers have is an essential part of any service delivery business. And at the moment our service is excellent, but our experience we provide is only good. So we're always interested in understanding why is it, what is the difference between providing good experience and making that get up to that excellent status. And it's really important that you chase that, because if you don't get to the heart of experience, which is really the customers looking back at you as the provider or walking in their shoes, you're never going to understand what are the differences or the things that you need to change to bring about better performance. And I think it's just essential that any water entity throughout New Zealand has that as one of their mottos. You'll find out later that we're owned by 5 councils in the Wellington metropolitan region, and you could assume that having good customer interaction or good experience, there might be some competition between the council and the water entity. In Wellington, if you ring up about your water problem, you access that through the customer contact centres, and there's 4 of those. And we sit in behind the councils to provide that service. And what we've found is that providing seamless service does not mean that jurisdictions have to get in the way of that. If you work in partnership with the councils and with ourselves, there's no reason why you can't provide excellent customer service. Behind the customer centre though, it's a reality that the water entity needs what we call a good customer hub, which is the ability to triage and manage those inquiries, in particular to make sure that customers are kept up to date when those things are going to be done and when they're going to be changed and improved and fixed. And of course at the very end we've got to be able to let the customer know that all of those things have been undertaken and closed out of them as we go forward. Likewise, you might find that, or think, that the water entity might be in competition with the council. In the model we have in this region, councils represent their community and they own their own assets. And we, as a water entity, are just one of the functions of council. And we aim to provide trusted advice to those councils. And what we mean by that is that we build a relationship with all the councillors and all the officers. We establish a high degree of trust inside the councils that we're just an extension of their service. And then we take action on the things that we need to do for them. In this case, that's around establishing a long-run level of service for the right investment plan. And I think one of the benefits of our model is that good tension that's created between council and our own entity in terms of making sure that everything we decide is in the long-run best interests of those customer outcomes we've described. A good example of how we work in that model and across council, for example, when it comes to growth and land use development in Wellington, council is the centre of planning for land use in Wellington. They are the single point of entry. What we've got to do as a water entity is to make sure that we can provide the very best 3 waters advice to them around how they prepare their infrastructure, plan their infrastructure around that growth to make sure that they deliver good land use outcomes. And as we practice that more and more, the ability for our function, the 3 waters part of that, part of the equation, the earlier that is in the process, the better the results there are for consumers. And at the same time, councils will expect us to address Three Waters issues that they have to, from time to time, around that development. Just an example then of where level of service and investment interact and where this good tension exists. So what I've got up there is an output of a catchment in Wellington, a large catchment, which is, we've now recorded the water quality issues throughout that catchment. On the left-hand side of the diagram, you'll see the level of the E. coli standards for those catchments from A to E. The national bottom line established for swimmable fresh water in 2040 is C. And we have a variety of measurements across our rivers and streams from E to D. So then you have to say, right, so what is going to take, what sort of investment is it going to take to get those water quality outcomes if they're affected not only by farming but also the wastewater networks and the stormwater networks that we manage. So therefore the question for our councils in terms of the long run performance, the outcomes we're after is around, do you want to achieve that level of service C for E. coli, all those rivers and streams, over 20 years, 15 years, or 10 years, or even 5? To me, those are the essential discussions that councils need to have and what the water entity can provide for those long-term discussions. And they are very, very big questions. We've heard a lot today about whether or not it should be Three Waters or an integrated approach. If we take an example of our Te Awa Kairangi catchment or the Hutt River, every issue we've talked about today plays out in that catchment. We rely on it to take all the fresh water, nearly all the fresh water for serving the water supply of Wellington. We have stormwater discharges of contaminants into that catchment. Regularly we have flooding in that catchment, and regularly we have wastewater overflows. If you don't take all of those factors into account in looking at those catchments, then how do you achieve a balanced investment profile for the betterment of all your customers? These are the decisions that I think are really important for councils that manage their Three Water networks. In terms of user charges, where we're heading as we look to the future in Wellington, we think a hypothecated rate across all the Three Waters maximise value and transparency to customers to achieve those outcomes. We're working to try and establish this as best we can, but as we see the function of the water entity is to propose various levels of rates for those long run levels of service, whether you're trying to address resilience of your networks, water quality issues or growth in those networks. And we see council consulting in their long-term plans on those options around what is the level of rate that should be taken, what are the benefits, the direct benefits the customers are going to get from that, and whether or not it's going to address your long-run outcomes. And council can bill those customers for that agreed rate, and then provide the funds for the water entity to deliver on the services that we've promised to provide. We see that it's really important to be transparent in terms of what you are being charged for and what you're going to get out of it. And then if you're very clear in your long-term plans around the plans and actions you're going to take, then customers want to be assured that the work you promise to do to deliver those outcomes is what you achieve. And we think the water entity can provide that. In terms of our governance structure and how we run as a company, we have 5 owning councils, which we've already explained to you. We have a water committee that's made up a member of each of those councils that represents the shareholder needs on a quarterly basis, and they represent the collective ownership of councils who have an asset base of 5.8 billion and are charged in various ways at the moment through their rates. We have a professional board of directors who can ensure that the water company is well run, and we provide services in partnership with our councils to service about 410,000 people and about 145,000 connections. They fund us on an annual basis, up front of $145 million, and it's our job to ensure that all of the customers of Wellington get value for money for that figure. One of the debates that's going to occur over the next few months is going to be the 2 waters versus 3 waters argument. And we believe Three Waters model to be what we would, because that's the one we run up at the moment. But this is really important. It's not because it's a Three Waters debate, but it's not because of anything to do with pipes and pumps and treatment plants. It's about community outcomes from our point of view. We want to play our role in balancing the right investment across all of the outcomes we want for our communities. And we see that best done at a catchment level. If you don't play at a catchment level, then you will get out of balance funding. The Three Waters matters are all interrelated, and they express themselves in their complication at a catchment level. If we carry out long-term planning at a catchment level and take an integrated approach to Three Waters, we are going to get way better ahead than if we subdivide those waters into two. I would also argue that in small to medium councils, it would just about be disingenuous in my mind to separate like-minded skilled resources to undertake similar activities. I mean, I can see how that can be argued at a large council level, but in a skilled shortage business, to segregate people to apply to two different types of waters with essentially the same skill sets doesn't make any sense to me. Creating an outcomes-based company, which is what we are, redefines Three Waters as a legitimate business, an infrastructure business for the good of the customers of the Wellington region. And when you do that, you obtain a critical resource. You can form a critical resource of expertise to do the work you require. Initially, we pulled together all the parties from council and we formed an organisation to do good work. Over time, as the reputation of the organisation is coming up, we continue to attract higher calibre resources who can add much higher value money as we go forward. And I'm sure Levine will be able to talk a little bit about that as well. But I guess the other thing, if you think of all some of the comments the other speakers have made, it has the ability to withstand stresses and shocks. We've had a couple of incidents in our own history, notwithstanding they have a lot more event and us having to UV and chlorinate 100,000 people in the Hutt Valley. You've got to have the critical mass and the size to be able to accommodate those stresses and shocks, and I guess without compromise, as the previous speaker said. In New Zealand, as we wake up to the fact that we've got a shortage of, we've got an issue around Three Waters and we want to fix it, we're going to again find ourselves falling on the problem of a lack of capability, of not being able to train the right people at the right time to meet all of these challenges. If you listen to Helen Wynne and others this morning around this gap of 500 million in drinking water and maybe 1 billion or 2 in wastewater networks, we just haven't been developing the people to do that, and we've got to be able to address that as quickly as we can. Having the likes of Watercare and other strong water entities that create a career path for people, I just think is essential. We're never going to address these problems without it. And lastly, just coming back to customer experience and customer service, I don't know what some weird slide I started to draw here, but the point is that if you don't focus in on that customer experience throughout your, all of your interactions with your customers, it doesn't matter what sort of business you run, how are you ever going to determine and trade off the levels of service you want for your, for your customers and the outcomes you require for the investment you provide? So from our point of view, without establishing those strong customer insights, setting up, bringing people into your company, understanding what you're trying to provide and getting to the bottom of those issues is very hard to understand how you're ever going to address what your customers experience and you require. Huri noa, te whare, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you.